President Trump telling Seattle leaders to shut down the police-free zone, or he will. The president calling out Democratic politicians after hundreds of protesters took over a section of the city and after police abandoned a precinct.
We're not going to let Seattle be occupied by anarchists. And I'm not calling them protesters. I'm not causing, but I got to see a performance that I've never seen. I mean, you think he was a weak person in Minneapolis? The woman, I don't know, has she ever done this before? If there were more toughness, you wouldn't have the kind of devastation that you had in Minneapolis and in Seattle. I mean, let's see what's going on in Seattle. But I will tell you, if they don't straighten that situation out, we're going to straighten it out.
Those comments coming amid reports of armed guards and possible extortion in the so-called autonomous zone. The protesters making a list of demands, including defunding the police, degentrification, and free college. Seattle's mayor is pushing back against criticism and just downplaying the matter entirely. Watch.
Lawfully gathering and expressing First Amendment rights, demanding we do better as a society, and providing true equity for communities of color is not terrorism. It is patriotism.
We've got 4 blocks in Seattle that you just saw pictures of that is more like a block party atmosphere. It's not an armed takeover. We have block parties and the like in this part of Seattle all the time. It's known for that.
How long do you think Seattle in those few blocks looks like this?
I don't know. We could have the summer of love.
I got to go to you, Kennedy. You know this part of the world pretty well. What do you think's going on? Get your thoughts, Kennedy.
Yeah, I grew up in Portland. I lived in Seattle. I love the weirdo atmosphere, but this has gone so far beyond that because what you're seeing is really a totalitarian takeover of people who want a one-party state. There's no longer freedom of expression or free exchange of ideas. And it's interesting because you talk about degentrification. What does that mean? How do you write something like that down if you're passing something through the city council? How does local government mandate something like degentrification? And that's the problem with these broad terms, is they ultimately have fascist outcomes. And it actually reminds me of Greg's, I believe, second book, Not Cool. Where people are beholden to the mob and they no longer think for themselves. It's no longer about individual rights, freedom of expression, or anything like that. You're really just doing everything to appease a group of people to whom you want to appear cool, and that's what Seattle's mayor reminds me of.
Greg, you are not necessarily a reader of crystal balls, but you did see this coming, and Not Cool is one of them, but commentary on this show for a while, and now all of a sudden this theory of what could happen if they actually got their way is now happening in Seattle.
Well, I might blow my horn now since both of you had led the way. Joy of Hate predicted cancel culture. Not Cool protected this kind of revolutionary change. You can't make demands when you're seceding, right? I don't understand that. This is not a divorce. You are leaving the country, so the demands are off the table. Okay, so here, I'm going to be fair. The bad thing about this is they're doing it on other people's property. That's wrong. The good thing is they're experimenting. They're putting their money, which they have none, where their mouth is. So if they actually do okay, maybe they can get some land and leave us alone. And again, I respect them more than the people like John Legend who are pushing for defunding the police from their gated mansions. At least these freaks are going out and giving it a shot. But the thing that is lost on the left, and Kennedy mentions it, places where there is little law and order is not freedom. It's actually the least free you can find. If you go to Sudan, it's ruled by criminals and warlords because they have no security. By the way, just an update, I have been checking with Human Resources about being Fox News's warlord. I'm waiting to see the health. I'm waiting to see the health benefits because it's hard when you're pillaging, and the 401k package, which I'm investing in hemp and tattoo ink.
Okay, well, you keep us informed on the warlord negotiations.
Yes.
Juan, I'm curious about the idea of some of these things that they come up with, like a demand for free college. This is just everybody's demand. everybody's demand. And somebody like a Joe Biden has already said, okay, well, we'll head in that direction. I don't understand how the whole free college thing works in this scenario. Why would the mayor be able to give that to them?
I don't think the mayor can give that to them, Dana. I think this is an expression of young people who are frustrated at the high cost of higher education in this country. But look, this is all, to me, just a political play, and it's morally selective outrage by a president who wants to paint these young people as anarchists and terrorists, and they're terrible people. And in fact, they're young people, as the mayor said, who are engaged in things like poetry readings, free speech, art in an art district in Seattle. And the mayor says it's lawful. She is supporting it, as you just heard. But Trump wants to turn them into bad guys. And you know why? Wow. Because then he can play Dirty Harry. He can dominate them, right? These are a bunch of kids. But he needs something at this moment. By the way, I didn't hear the right-wing echo chamber go off in 2016 when you had actual armed men take over federal property in Oregon and threaten people and interfere with federal workers. No, then there was like crickets. So I think there's a lot of hypocrisy here, because I think Trump knows he's not doing well in handling these protests.
But you also played down what was going on, too, Juan. Whenever there was like, oh, that's largely a protest, it's the few bad apples. So the hypocrisy could be spread evenly, right?
No, wait a second. I do think these have been overwhelmingly peaceful, legitimate protests about an outrageous situation.
That's
Greg.
my point.
Jesse, did you know that this idea for an autonomous zone, apparently they're going to try it in Nashville tonight? The governor's saying that's not happening, but the mayor, Mr. Cooper, I don't know what he said so far, but he's been out there with protesters. But he won't let somebody like John Rich's little kid play in the Little League games this weekend. Like, everything's a mess. It's not just this little 6-block area. It could actually spread.
Yeah, I don't see John Rich tolerating an autonomous zone in Nashville. No, I don't think it's going to go over too well with the people of Tennessee. But can we back up for a second? If Greg is a warlord at Fox, that is the softest coup I think we've ever witnessed in world history. And also, why is everybody kissing Gutfeld's butt so badly? Like, I'm about to throw up over here. I mean, the guy's ego is as big as Trump's at this point. Does he need more stroking? He does not. And also, to Juan's point, Juan, I've never seen a peaceful protest injure 700 NYPD officers and cost hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage, okay? So let's get that straight. And as someone who does not consider themselves that mature, when Jesse Waters feels more mature than elected mayors and governors of states, we have a real problem on our hands. Like, you wouldn't let your children lock themselves in a room in your house and start making demands of their parents, right? No, you'd kick the door down and they'd be grounded for the rest of the summer. I mean, this is not sleepless in Seattle. This is spineless in Seattle. This might be probably the worst thing to come out of Seattle since grunge. And I don't say this lightly.
You walk that back, Jesse Waters, or Mark Arm will give you the business end of his arm. No, you do not have the right to lecture the world about Seattle music, particularly grunge and anything in the 90s. But what I will say is this movement allows the city council and the mayor to conveniently not pay attention to the homeless crisis. Homelessness in a wealthy city like Seattle has gotten out of control, and now they don't have to address that because they can talk about the summer of love. You know, and I guess homelessness is just camping. Never mind the women and the vulnerable who are sexually assaulted in situations like that. This, according to the Seattle chief of police, talking about Chaz.